And it kind of throws it back to the city council. They really need to listen to the citizens as to what sort of roads and things of that nature. And I really feel that we need to do a better job on getting information out to the public, saying, well, we can't resurface that road right now because we're fixing to tear up the sewage system or the water system and install some new lines or something of that nature. That kind of information doesn't seem to be kind of put out into the public at all. It may have at some point in time, but when you put out information 8 months ahead of time, as you probably know, 90 days later you kind of forget about it. So maybe there's a better process that the city needs to work on in getting things to the public. I know on many occasions my neighbors were frustrated because certain information wasn't available. Well, it is available. It is available on the website. It is available through your website, through the city's 2 or 3 different websites that we have, the chamber's website. I don't know why my neighbors don't know that. Well, there's probably a reason. And what is it? I don't know.
Why do you think it is the city seems to have trouble getting participation on different committees and boards, and sometimes at public hearings even there'll be no one show up?
Probably frustration. I know last night was a pretty good turnout. And I know you guys put out that there was about 70 people there, and I think that if you really counted, and there's probably closer to 100 at the end of the, at the middle part of it anyway. I saw several people lingering out in the hallway wanting to know what was going on. Some came in, some came out. But I think people are a little bit frustrated. They're being told one thing and something else is happening. Or that's their perception. And I will say that's their perception, because a lot of times when the city says they're going to do something, they usually do it. It's just not quite as timely as what we think. So our perception becomes frustrated, I think, or our attitude is. That's probably about it. I think people are just a little frustrated.
How do you see the role, what do you see the role of the city council member? How do you see that being?
City council member is probably, in some cases, giving input from the citizen. They are elected to make good quality decisions based on what the city or what the citizens has portrayed, where they want. And I have to honestly say that if you have some buy-in from the citizens, and when I say buy-in, we're talking about what do the citizens really want the city to look like? And it's real simple. In the quality world's a vision, and you can't do things today for just tomorrow. You have to really look down the road and get people involved, get a buy-in. They buy into this vision because they're part of that vision. They've put into it their ideas and things of that nature. And when that happens and people start seeing that happen, you tell them this is a 20-year vision, and at the 5-year mark, this is where we want to be. At the 1-year mark, this is where we want to be. And we do a review, and you get people involved by publicity or perhaps more people volunteering for different committees and things like that. That's kind of where I see that going.
Looking at the Parks and Rec Advisory Board and the City Council, their meetings are very different. The structure of how they process information, the guidelines for how they receive information from the public. Parks and Rec is a little bit more relaxed. City Council is a lot more formal. You mentioned that as a council member, you would like, you see your role as getting that information and using it, representing the people, being their voice, taking what you're hearing from them. When you look at the structure of those two different meeting styles and discussion styles, how do you see yourself going about getting that information?
That's a very difficult question, because you could start out by asking people personally, one-on-one, and things like that. And after a while, that's going to get very old because you won't be able to do that on every instant. I suppose the best way would be the mass media that we're now going to. And if you look at some of the state level elections and some of the national level elections, there is a new, well, I guess it's a new brand of getting in touch with people. It's not a face-to-face, it's not a touch handshake type thing. It's getting feedback through Facebook and Twitter and things of that nature. The response is overwhelming, and that may be an avenue. Does the city want to do something like that? I think there is a gap as to who would participate in that. But once everybody gets involved a little bit more, that's another avenue, is what it is. That is still a very difficult question. I don't know exactly what I would do step by step specifically, but there are new avenues that we can use.
When you're out campaigning, what kind of feedback are you getting from people on what they want to see the city council to address?
That's an interesting question. There's three categories of people that I've met, and I put them in three categories. You've got the angry ones of what's already happened and what's been happening, so they're very angry. You've got the nervous type, they're just nervous as to what's going on in the national level, and they're bringing that to our level. And then you have the very calm, fast-talking citizen that wants to get some things done differently. The majority of them are, why can't we do this and why can't we do that? Well, that's a very difficult question to answer without having additional information. The main concern, I think, that seemed to float to the top was the infrastructure of the city. Most of the folks I've talked to have lived here 10 years plus. And they say, a long time ago, there wasn't that much traffic. There wasn't this and there wasn't that. The city's talking about tourism increase. They're talking about this and they're talking about that. And it says, our roads can't handle that. They can't even handle the local traffic. And I says, yeah, you've got a good point. But we've already seen progress. And again, I have to revert back to the getting information out to the public. The hospital's going down. We had, at the forum last night, we had, 2 questions on what do we do with the hospital now that it's going to be torn down. I can think back to the first few weeks I was here when a real estate agent was showing homes and we drove through or near the hospital, the current one being torn down. And I had to ask myself, if the city is talking about growth already, I read in the paper then, they're going to have an issue with this hospital being right here because it creates a bottleneck with the road. So that kind of took care of itself. And I think that the majority of the people, the ones I've talked to, they don't want something specifically for them. They wanted something for maybe everybody or a majority of the people. And when they've talked about infrastructure, they were talking about the watering system. I guess it was last year or the year before last when we had the big scare about the black hydrants versus the red hydrants, and they were going to redistrict a bunch of things. And terrible information on that one. I don't know who put that out, but we got terrible feedback on that to the public. And I think that the majority of the voters that I've talked to want the nice little city that you can go to a park and enjoy it, have grandchildren visit, go someplace in this city and do something